Breaking news that just came in, it looks like about 10 minutes ago. You remember those comments that Pete DeBoer made after the Dallas Stars were eliminated from the playoffs, most notably about Jake Oettinger? Yeah, they cost him his job. So here's your breaking news as we do the show on a Friday morning. Dallas Stars put out news. Dallas Stars general manager Jim Nill announced today Pete DeBoer has been relieved of his coaching duties. Oh boy. Effective immediately, the search will begin for the next head coach of the Dallas Stars. Quote, after careful consideration, we believe that a new voice is needed in our locker room to push us closer to our goal of winning the Stanley Cup. We'd like to thank Pete for everything that he has helped our organization achieve over the past 3 seasons and wish him nothing but the best moving forward. Bingo, bango, bongo. What did we talk about on this show? What did we say? One of the two guys was probably going to have to go. And just based on the contract, remember, Oettinger's getting paid through the 2032, 2033 season. Based on that, based on the fact that he is still a top 5 goalie in this league, it seemed very unlikely that the Stars were going to move their franchise netminder, and also, by the way, that a lot of teams are going to be able to take on a contract of that length, over $8 million a year. So Oettinger, you can officially rule out. I just saw Joe Fisher say, damn, I was hoping we somehow got Oettinger. Boy, if you're a head coach, I just play this one out for a second. So like Oettinger's staying, Pete DeBoer's out. This is a really interesting scenario. Like, this is a very interesting question to ask now, because the Bruins just hired a coach. The Flyers, the Rangers, the Bruins, Flyers, Rangers, Bruins, the Ducks, the Blackhawks. There's somebody else in there. The Penguins all had head coaching vacancies, right? All of them had head coaching vacancies. And there were more. If Pete DeBoer had hit the market, let's just say everything's even, right? Imagine a scenario where you can't start hiring head coaches until the end of the playoffs. If Pete DeBoer's name were on the open market, would he have been the number one most interesting name on the head coaching market? I would think yes. Would he have been the guy that would have probably been the one that guys would have, the teams would have gone after the hardest? I would say probably. Sullivan probably would have been up there as well. Let's not underrate Sullivan. Tockett's name would have certainly been around a lot of these teams as well. But Pete DeBoer hits the coaching market after a lot of these head coaching vacancies have been filled. Are there any teams right now that have a little bit of not disappointment, not regret that they made the hirings that they did when they did with the available candidates they did? But with Pete DeBoer being fired now by Dallas, he hits the market. And I honestly don't remember which teams. I'm going to look this up real quick. I don't think there are many vacancies left, right? I don't think there are. Unless I'm missing something that's like hitting me in the face. The Penguins just hired their coach. Let's see. So, yeah. The Bruins hired a coach. The Blackhawks hired a coach. The Flyers obviously hired Tocchet. The Ducks hired Quenneville. Rangers hired Sullivan. The Kraken have a coach. The Penguins just hired a coach. The Canucks hired a coach. So now Dallas fires DeBoer, and DeBoer has nowhere to land. Now the question is there a team out there that didn't think about firing their coach that now says, ooh, Pete DeBoer, that is a name that we are interested in, that would represent a significant improvement? Does Pete DeBoer now become the number one free agent candidate for head coaches on the market in the NHL? And then you start to look at early next season when a team kind of falters coming out of the gate. Is Pete DeBoer the number one guy on everybody's list? I'll tell you what, of all the things that happen, I'm surprised it took this long, but it does speak to, we always ask for transparency, and we always ask for honesty from coaches and players. Pete DeBoer, for better or worse, talked himself out of that job. You could maybe, in a sense, draw a parallel, if you want, to what happened here with Tortorella. Now, obviously, there were the the reported things about an issue in the locker room with Cam York. But he had that comment that did not sit well with the organization or with the fan base about, to paraphrase, I've never had to lose like this. I'm not interested in learning how to coach a team like this. That didn't sit well. It wasn't the only reason why Tortorella was let go. This DeBoer thing really does feel like a lot of it had to be because of those quotes. Because if you think about what Dallas has been able to achieve the last few years, it's hard to say that he's been a reason that they haven't found that success. I mean, remember, he's undefeated in Game 7s. He helped lead this Dallas team all the way up to the Western Conference Finals. And yeah, they fell on their face, but I don't know. That's interesting. Now, if Carolina had parted ways with Brind'Amour, could they take DeBoer, and could Brind'Amour end up in Dallas? Like, that probably won't happen, right? So I don't know what's going to happen. That is a wild turn of events. And by the way, I say all of this, and like I just mentioned Torts' name. Remember, he didn't take a job in the front office or as an assistant coach with the Rangers. Does John Tortorella now become the number one candidate for the job in Dallas? Does he want to coach in Dallas? I mean, listen, if you're put everything aside, John Tortorella would be the best option for Dallas, right? Now, you know what you're getting if you are the Stars. You understand the brashness. You understand the bravado. You understand the no bullshit of it all with John Tortorella. You understand the fact that, like, at his age, with his experience, all that, this isn't like you're hiring a coach for the next 5 or 6 years. But if you're looking to get a guy who's going to raise the floor of your team, which is already very high, and probably raise their ceiling as well, if I'm Dallas, I hire Torts. And I think that's the first call. I would actually not be surprised if through back channels, Dallas had maybe been in contact with representatives for John Tortorella, kind of do a little feeling out, a little poking around. If I were Dallas and I'm trying to get over the hump, Torts is probably the guy I bring in. However, if you are to go down that path, the very clear thing that you have to say to him is, the shit that just happened with DeBoer cannot happen with you. The shit that kind of happened at the end of the Flyers tenure cannot happen here. And Torts is a smart guy. Think about the teams that he's had the most success with. They've had very, very good netminders. Jake Oettinger happens to be one of the best goalies in the National Hockey League. It is an absolutely perfect fit. Now, would it go over well if the players were already worried about how brash and harsh DeBoer's comments were after being eliminated? Are they going to love having John Tortorella in that locker room? I don't know. But from a management perspective, that to me is the way to go. I'll tell you right now, if I were Dallas, my first and only call would be to John Tortorella. I wouldn't go have a lengthy head coaching search. That's the guy. And if you're Torts and you can take over a team that just got to the Western Conference Final, has a legitimate netminder, has a bunch of guys who are very, very talented. You have a stud of studs in Mikko Rantanen. You just re-signed one of the best up-and-coming young centers in the league at Wyatt Johnston. You have legitimate blue liners in Heiskanen and Harley, a bunch of those guys. That, to me, is a match made in heaven. Pete DeBoer, I don't know what you're doing, man. Oh, boy. That aged like spoiled milk.